Hi, it's Anne from Dance Project, and I wanted to lead a short tutorial on ballet basics. So if you are just getting started with ballet, or you've had a couple of classes and you'd like a refresher before jumping into a full-length ballet class, this is a great one for you for some basic vocabulary. Of course, you know that dance is a physical activity, so there is some risk of injury, so make sure you've cleared some space around you so we can have fun and get dancing and stay safe. So let's bring ourselves into the center of your space. We're going to start with finding the positions of our feet. So I'm going to start with my feet together. This is parallel position, and I'm going to use the rotator muscles at the top of my thighs to rotate my toes out as far as they go. So I'm not going to work my feet out farther than I can maintain them. I'm just going to lift those toes up, and as far as they go, that's my first position. So I'm holding that position from the top of my thighs, my heels are together, and my toes are out. And then if I put a little space between my feet, it's about the width of one of your feet, maybe a tiny bit more. I'm still rotating from the top of my thighs. This is second position, and my weight is balanced right in between my feet, so I'm not to one side or to the other. So this is second position. If I bring one foot to the arch, the heel of my front foot to the arch of my back foot, this is third position. And then if I make some space, here I'll back up so you can see my feet a little bit better. If I make some space in between my feet, this is fourth position. And then if I bring my front heel to my back toe, I'm in fifth position. So again, let's start in first position. And we come to second position and third position, tendu front to fourth position. I'm balancing the weight on both feet, and fifth position. We'll do with the other foot. Come to first position and second position and third position. I'll back up a little bit. And fourth position and fifth position. And in a beginning ballet class, you most likely would be working in a first position, a second position, and a third or fifth. If this is really new for you, I would recommend third position so you can make sure that you're really maintaining and building the strength of your rotators. This may put a little more pressure on your knees, and so if you don't have that strength in the rotators, it might be a little much right at the beginning. So start with third position and see how that feels. Let's also look at some of the common position names for the arms. So there are multiple different schools of ballet, and each school has its own progression of the arms, but this is a very basic and common one. So you might see something different depending on your teacher, but we'll start with our arms, nice and low. They're very rounded through the elbows, and I've got lots of volume through that space. So if I bring my arms up in front, that's first position. If I open my arms to the side, this is second position. If I bring one overhead, that's third. And I close, this is fourth. Both arms overhead is fifth. And then I can open and close. We can do that bringing the other arm up as well. So we've got first position, second position, third position, fourth position, fifth position, open, and let those hands float down. So let's look at a couple of important details with these arms. So I'm going to turn to the side so you can see this a little better. If you'll find where your rib cage starts to split, right underneath your sternum, so your fingers, place your fingers there and then take them directly out from that spot. This is a good spot for your first position. So you'll see that there's a slight incline, right? So my arms are not level with my shoulders. My hands are not level with my shoulders. There's a little bit of an incline here, and that helps the upper body, the neck, stay nice and long and not look too cramped with the shoulders way up high. So that's one thing to think about. When we go to the second position, You'll use your muscles to lift behind the elbows or underneath the elbows rather than letting them droop down. And the shoulder blades are a big part of this. So you want the shoulder blades to be reaching away from each other and away from the spine to support this. One more thing with the arms, if you imagine a little flashlight or a light bulb inside each palm, when you take the arms over the head, you want the light to be shining right on your forehead, not on the crown of your head or the back of your head, but right here at the front. I'm going to kneel down so you can see my arms and see what that looks like. So when I take my arms above my head, I want my palms to be shining right on my forehead. If they get to the top of my head or behind, I'm losing the alignment in my shoulders here, and I want to keep them just a little bit in front of my face. So those are some of the basic arm positions. We'll go now through some of the building blocks of ballet technique. You would do these certainly at the bar in a very focused and concentrated way, but they show up throughout all ballet steps and combinations, even as you're moving across the floor or working in the center. So let's start with a plie. Plie means to bend, and we're going to bring the knees over the toes. I'm going to step to the side so you can see the contrast of my knees a little bit better. So when I bend my knees over my toes, if you look down, you should be able to see your big toe. If you can't see your big toe, you might be rolling in on the arches, or your knees might be going too far forward. So those same rotator muscles that we started with in our first position, we want to find those again in the plie. So we've got a demi-plie, which is a small plie. The heels stay on the floor here, and my shoulders are going to stay right over my hips. So that's the demi-plie. We can also do a grande plie. So in a grande plie, we let the heels come just a little bit off the floor, and then the heels press down to bring us back up. We don't want to sit at the bottom because that puts a lot of pressure on our knees. So as soon as we get to the bottom of that grande plie, we're going to press right back up. Here's what that looks like from the side. So we've got a grande plie. I'm keeping my chest high, my shoulders right over my hips, rather than letting those shoulders come forward here. So that's the way a grande plie works in first, fourth position, and fifth position, that the heels will come off the floor. So here's a grande plie in fifth position. Again, the heels come off the floor only when they need to, and they press right back to the floor to bring you back up. In second position, it's a little bit different. So our demi-plie is the same. Heels stay on the floor. But a grande plie, the heels also stay on the floor. We can take it a little bit deeper, but not too deep. So you don't want the hips to be below the knees, and you only want to go as deep as you can before the pelvis starts to tilt and that alignment of the shoulders over the hips can no longer be maintained. So keep the back nice and long, as if you were sliding down a wall, and then right back up. So that's plie. You'll see that again throughout all of the ballet class. Tendu is another very common step. So a tendu is a stretching of the leg, and it slides out and it slides back in. So I'm keeping contact between my foot and the floor, and I'm lengthening that leg all the way out so that my ankle is nice and pointed, my knee is straight, the muscles of my thigh are pulling up, so I have one long line of my leg. So again, keeping that contact with the floor is really important. I'm not going to release and point. Yeah, I exaggerated that a little bit, but I'm not touching and bringing it back. I'm sliding it out and sliding it back in. And tendu can happen going to the front, to the front, to the side, to the back. It can happen in any direction. It can happen from fifth or third, and it can close all the way around. Okay? there's a really common pattern when you're taking a ballet class, especially a ballet bar, where you would do an exercise to the front, to the side, to the back, and to the side again. And that pattern is called Ancho, or in the shape of a cross. So for instance, you might do a combination where you did 2 tendus to the front, 2 tendus to the side, 2 tendus to the back, and 2 tendus to the side. So that would be Ancho. That pattern is Ancho. All right, so we have tendu, which stays connected to the floor. The next thing I'll show you is a degage, and a degage disengages from the floor just a couple inches, maybe 2 inches. So just a little bit of a lengthening above the floor. I still have that nice long leg, my toe is pointing, my ankle is pointed, and I'm maintaining the rotation of the outward rotation of those thighs. And most of the time, a degage is quick and sharp. So you might see a degage that looks like this. So nice and quick and sharp so that the toes are pointing every time. I'm still sliding the foot against the floor, and that's where the power comes from for that degage, the pressing against the floor with the toes. So we know now, we know our plie, demi-plie, and grande plie. We know a tendu that stays connected to the floor, and we know degage that comes off from the floor and is really quick and sharp most of the time. One more thing that's related to the degage and the tendu is a grande battement. So grande means big, Battma means a beating of the leg. So it disengages from the floor just a little bit more than the degage. So it could be low. We call this 45 degrees. You'll notice that it's higher than my degage, right? So 45 degrees. Or if the leg is able to come all the way to hip height, that's 90 degrees. If you have more flexibility, it can go even higher, as long as you're maintaining the proper relationship of the pelvis there. So a grande battement has even more power, and in order to get the height of the leg, you've really got to press down against the floor rather than lifting with the quads. So if you're practicing this and your quads are burning, you might want to start again, shake them out, and try again, and really press down with your energy through the foot, almost like you've got a fire hose blasting water out through the tip of your toes. Yeah, so that's our grande battement. When we're doing that, we're keeping our torso nice and lifted. We're not crunching towards the leg. If you do find yourself doing that, that means your leg is going a little higher than you can support. So take it a little bit lower. All right, so we have our positions of the feet. Let's review what we know. First position. Let's see, I'm going to keep my arms down for this one. First position, second position, third position, fourth position, fifth position. And let's stay right there with the feet and review our arms. First position, second position, third position, fourth, fifth, open, and lower. We know our plie and a grande plie. We know a tendu to the front, to the side, to the back, to the side. We know a degage. Let's do a one degage in each position. To the front, to the side, to the back, to the side, and then our grande battement. I'm going to step to the side a little bit so I have more room, and we've got our battement, 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 battement. Let's finish with our arms down, standing tall. We're engaging through the core, letting our head float up towards the ceiling as if has a balloon pulling it up. Our arms are nice and round, full of volume here. And then we'll relax. Thank you very much. Tune in for another video where we'll go through a few other kind of basics at the bar that can then transfer into center work and a full class. Thank you.